Hey everybody, and welcome back to our channel here at 360 Player. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 ways to improve your football team. And for all of you American viewers out there, I'm referring to soccer, not American football. Although a lot of these tips could be applicable to other sports as well. With that being said, let's jump right into this video. Number 1 is to teach your players the fundamental skills that they need. When it comes to football, oftentimes the team that is the best at the basic fundamentals, passing, shooting, dribbling, creating space, movement, all of the fundamental skills, that's oftentimes what separates the winning team from the losing team. And being able to get your players very, very strong at those basic fundamentals is going to give your team the best chance at being successful. And when it comes to improving your team, there's the things that you can do all together at your team training sessions, but there's also the things that players can do on their own to practice and get better so that when they come to join the team again, they're already improving their skills in other ways as well. This is where the player development tools inside 360 Player can really help make a difference for your team. Inside the 360 Player platform, players and coaches can assess their skills, and then the algorithms inside the 360 Player app will then define, based on what a player's positions are and the skills that were assessed, what skills they most need to work on to improve and help the team the most. And in addition, the app will automatically generate training suggestions so that players always know exactly what they can do to improve. We call these individualized development plans because each player will have a perfectly curated plan so that they know exactly what skills they can work on, how to improve them, so that when they come back into your team training sessions, they've improved the most and they have goals and objectives for every step of the way. The second tip to improve your football team is to praise more often than you criticize. Great coaches follow the 5-to-1 rule. For every 1 criticism that you make of a player, you should have 5 positive things that you're saying about them. And when you follow this 5-to-1 ratio, you're always generating these feelings of positivity. And then when you do give that feedback, it really resonates with that player. And they're not going to take it as personally because their confidence level is so much higher. I like to sometimes sandwich my feedback as a coach. I'll point out something that a player did very, very well. Then I'll give some constructive feedback of something that they could have done better, and then follow it up with another positive. By doing this, players can learn from their mistakes without taking it personally or having their confidence damaged. And when one player is always spreading positive energy throughout the team, it sort of becomes this contagious thing throughout the team where people are more supportive of one another, and it just lifts everybody up. The third way to improve your football team is to use this principle called the progressive overload principle. These are key foundational principles that actually a lot of people follow, such as personal trainers or athletic trainers. These sorts of people that want to improve performance in a gym, these are the same principles, and you can apply these principles to your football team. For example, the principle of progression. By starting with something easier and making it progressively more and more difficult, your players are going to have to adjust and adapt to that difficulty. And this is through overload. By constantly making things a little bit more difficult than you can handle. Think about when you go to the gym. If you lift weights that are super easy for you to lift, you're not going to be getting stronger. But if you're constantly on the edge and pushing yourself and trying to lift heavier and heavier weights just at the edge of your comfort zone every single time, your body is going to respond by getting stronger. And you can actually use this exact same principle with your football team when you are doing team training sessions by making the drills challenging and maybe starting them at the beginning of the year a little bit easier, but finding ways to make it more difficult. Maybe it's making the spaces smaller so that people have less time and space when the ball comes to them and they have to think more quickly on the ball. Maybe you're adding in more pressure defenders, or maybe you're making it more difficult. You're always tweaking and trying to find ways as a coach to progressively make things more and more difficult and adding challenges for your players that they can then adapt and respond to in order to improve. Another thing that goes along with this concept is that you want to make your practices fun and engaging, and you want your players to be as active as possible. You don't want to be one of these coaches that has a line of 20 players and everybody's standing in line watching one player with the ball have a shot on goal or whatever they're doing. You want to keep your players moving. And by designing training sessions that are very, very Engaging, you can avoid having players standing around doing nothing, which is really, really boring. Inside of the 360 player platform, we have tons of training session ideas that are there to inspire you and that are really, really fun and engaging for players, as well as the fact that you can always create your own drills and sessions inside of the platform. The fourth way you can improve your football team is to cultivate growth mindsets. This goes back to the book by Carol Dweck, a sports psychologist, that found that there were two types of primary mindsets out there. There were fixed mindsets and growth mindsets. And the people with growth mindsets ended up being much more successful. Now here is what a growth mindset is. A growth mindset is somebody that they're not afraid of failure. They're not afraid of taking risks. They're not afraid of challenging themselves. And when they do mess up, they don't take it personally because they don't identify their skills as being fixed. They don't identify themselves as being talented or not talented. They view development and progression as a learning process that anybody can improve and get better if they put in the time and work to get better. And having that growth mindset, both as a coach and instilling that in your players, it gives people a lot of confidence and empowerment because it makes people feel like they are the ones in control. They are the ones that can put in the work, and if they fall short of their goals, they know that they can still improve and get better. Having a fixed mindset can be very detrimental in a football team because if you lose, you might have that attitude of the other team was just better and there's nothing we could have done about it, whereas a growth mindset is going to be much more empowering because they'll view that loss as a learning opportunity. What can we learn from this match? What can we use to improve ourselves and empower ourselves to become better and come back stronger in the future? Now for the fifth and final point, we're going to follow up on this concept of learning from mistakes, and this is by analyzing performance. There's this great quote from Henry Ford that goes, "The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing." Now, mistakes are going to be very, very common in football matches and football practices. Players and teams are going to make mistakes, and that is completely natural. But in order to actually improve as a team, you need to identify what those mistakes were and be able to learn from them. And that's why 360 Player has really great performance analysis tools inside of the platform, like video analytics, statistics, all these things that players can actually see themselves in action and find aspects of their game that they can improve. And not only that, as we were saying with the 5-to-1 rule earlier, you can really start to point out and highlight all of those positive things that the players are doing as well to increase their confidence and reinforce those positive habits that you are instilling in them as a coach. With that being said, guys, I hope you implement some of these with your football team. Those were our top 5 ways to improve your team. If you found this type of content valuable, leave a like and consider subscribing. We've got a great community here at 360 Player. We are the all-in-one sports platform. If you want to find out more about what our sports software does for teams and clubs, check out the link down below in the description. Thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you in another video.